Don't have to wave, guys. Don't have to wave. All right. Movies are a sort of faux way of putting history on display, especially to someone young like me. I say that they're faux because even though there are obvious inaccuracies or is a fictionalized film, there are still movies that have a way of giving a certain feeling at a time in history an event had. I have seen over 10 movies based solely on the Vietnam War, and I've watched them all multiple times, especially the three I will cover today. Throughout this speech, I will cover the main aspects and feelings of three different Vietnam War movies. Those three movies are Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, and Apocalypse Now, all of which I actually own. So the first movie I'll briefly cover is Platoon. This is a Vietnam War movie made in 1986 by Oliver Stone. And interestingly enough, Oliver Stone, who is actually a veteran of the Vietnam War, he is the first, and I think only at this point, a veteran of that war to direct a movie on it, which is why it's often hailed as one of the most accurate depictions of the Vietnam War, even though if you've seen it, it's very bombastic and seems like just a movie. In a screenwriter article written by Cathal Gunning on November 5th, 2020, a former Marine and tech advisor to military movies, James Deaver, claimed that Stone's movie is unerringly accurate in its depiction of real-life Vietnam battle sequences. The advisor notes that not only are weapons and equipment carried correctly by actors, but the tactics that the titular platoon uses are also believable for that time. The other thing about Platoon is that the movie is not so much about fighting the North Vietnamese or the traditional enemy of the war, which is a lot of movies cover. It's about internal conflicts within the U.S. soldiers within their own platoon. And there's a quote from Charlie Sheen towards the end of the movie, which is used in a lot of articles covering the movie, like one according to journalist Jonathan Leiter, who wrote War Literature and the Arts, an international journal on humanities in 2015, took this quote from the end of Platoon. I think now looking back, we did not fight the enemy, we fought ourselves. So this movie is obviously very fascinating to me. The jungle sort of draws you in and puts you in with the characters, which is unlike the next movie I'll talk about, which is also very fantastic, but I think has the opposite effect about drawing you in. And that movie is a 1989 film made by Stanley Kubrick entitled Full Metal Jacket. This film was split up into two different distinct halves. The first one with them being at boot camp, and the other one with them fighting in Vietnam. Now, it's important when you watch the film it's often very confusing. People when they watch it, they don't realize it's a Vietnam War movie if they don't pay much attention. But the film is fought not in the jungle, which is traditional, but is fought in the city of Hue, is what the film says. Which is very weird for a Vietnam War movie. Often it's a jungle. You find a jungle that's Vietnam. So it's very unique in that way. In an interview, which was conducted August 1st, 2017, by Damon Wise with Matthew Modine, the main star of Full Metal Jacket, which was published to The Guardian, Modine stated, it'd be a completely different film if we'd gone to the jungle and shot Vietnam that way. The street fighting, I think, is one of the things that makes this film timeless. It's almost similar to fightings that you see in Iraq or Afghanistan, is what he said. The movie is able to distinguish itself not only because it's a flat-out great movie, but also due to this change in scenery for Vietnam movie, makes it very unique. So with that movie being unique for its setting, the next one is unique in the overall feel of the movie, and it's probably one of the most unique films ever made. That movie is the 1979 movie made by Francis Ford Coppola, which is Apocalypse Now. The uniqueness of this movie has to do with the psychedelic nature that's often attributed to the Vietnam War. And that psychedelic nature also goes with the main song that was chosen, which plays throughout the movie, which is The End by the band The Doors. And I found an excerpt posted November 12, 2017 by Carlo Affasciato, who's been writing about movies since 2010. The movie opens and the only sound you hear is the voice of Jim Morrison in The End, a peculiar way of representing Captain Willard's state of mental alteration, those spirited blue eyes that stare at the emptiness of the hotel room in Saigon, Vietnam. The other interesting thing about Apocalypse Now is that it's been re-released 3 times at least, over the last 40 years. The first time the original release, then a redux, another redux, and now the final cut. In an interview done by David Halberstam with Francis Ford Coppola, director of Apocalypse Now, which is published in a Newsweek article, I have always liked the idea that the film was originally a little more diverse. It had women in it. It had the French. It gave more perspective than just the people on the boat going upriver. but I was under pressure to deliver a war film, and we were pretty worried that it would be too strange, too against the popular mood. So what he did over the next 40 years, he shot all these scenes and he added them into the movie later, with last year in 2019, his final cut being released. So over the last few minutes, I've gone over 3 Vietnam War movies and the feelings that they've had, and the feeling that they had, and other aspects within them. Something important that I wanted to leave it with is that the overall feels of these movies are all very different, even though they're about one singular event, which shows how complex history is. That's all I have. They're still there. They didn't leave. Cards. If it focuses. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good job.